This is the Cinco Ranch Junior High 2020 Online Learning Reconstruction Assessment. Question 1. A major reason the radical Republicans opposed President Abraham Lincoln's Reconstruction plan was that his plan postponed the readmission of Southern states into the Union for many years, demanded payments from the South that would have damaged its economy, granted too many rights to formerly enslaved persons, or offered amnesty to nearly all Confederates who would swear allegiance to the United States. Question 2. Reconstruction. 1. 13th Amendment ratified. 2. Southern states readmitted to the Union. 3. Blank. Which of the following best completes the blank? United States obtains the Louisiana Purchase. President Andrew Johnson impeached. Union wins Battle of Gettysburg. Cotton gin leads to an increase in slave trade. Question 3. Hiram Rhodes Revels, a Republican from Mississippi, was the first black man to serve in Congress. Upon Revels' admission to the Senate in 1870, Republican Senator Charles Sumner said this: "All men are created equal," says the Great Declaration, and now a great act attests this verity. Today we make this declaration a reality. The Declaration was only half established by independence. The greatest duty remained behind. In assuring the equal rights of all, we complete the work. What is the basic message of the quote? Admitting rebels to the Senate helps fulfill the vision for equal rights found in the Declaration of Independence. The Senate is required by the Declaration of Independence to admit rebels as senator. The Declaration of Independence will not be the law of the land unless rebels is admitted to the Senate. Letting rebels take his Senate seat will not guarantee the equality established in the Declaration of Independence. Question 4. Who was the first African American man elected to the Senate? Frederick Douglass, Dred Scott, William Carney, Hiram Rhodes Revels. Question 5. The provision of the radical Republicans' plan for Reconstruction that Southern states found most objectionable was that a former Confederate state could not be readmitted to the Union unless that state granted full citizenship to former Confederate leaders, agreed to modernize its economy, ratified the 14th Amendment, gave land to former slaves. Question 6. Why was the Freedmen's Bureau established during Reconstruction? To document the heritage and ancestry of formerly enslaved people, to register the citizenship and marriages of formerly enslaved people, to establish schools for and distribute food to formerly enslaved people, to create groups of government lawyers to protect the rights of formerly enslaved people. What was the impact of the 13th Amendment on American life? It allowed individuals to purchase and carry guns. It abolished slavery in the country. Former adult male slaves were given the right to vote. Former slaves were granted citizenship and civil rights. Question 8. The 15th Amendment was ratified in order to protect the voting rights of African American men, establish legal requirements for the education of former slaves, abolish the institution of slavery, mandate fair labor contracts between African American workers and plantation owners. Question 9. The 14th Amendment established that slaves were able to vote, attend higher learning institutions, become citizens, be free. Question 10. Which of the following describes carpetbaggers? Southerners who owned large plantations, Northerners who moved south seeking profit, former slaves who moved west seeking land, ex-Confederates who ran for political office. Question 11. After the Civil War, most women in the South did not have any land to farm, so they were forced to work the land of others in exchange for a percentage of their crops in this system: slavery, free labor, sharecropping, indentured servitude. Question 12. Laws passed in the South during Reconstruction meant to restrict the freedom of blacks were known as the blank. Black Codes, 14th Amendment, 13th Amendment, 15th Amendment. Question 13. Laws passed in the South to force racial segregation were called blank. 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, Jim Crow laws. Question 14. This term was used to describe white Southerners that supported Reconstruction. These people were viewed as traitors. Jim Crow, freedmen, Scalawag, carpetbagger. Question 15. This president was the first to be impeached in U.S. history. While officially he was accused of violating the Tenure of Office Act, it was actually an attempt by the radical Republicans in Congress to exact revenge for political differences. Ulysses S. Grant, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, or Jefferson Davis. Question 16. In exchange for electing blank president, the Republicans in the North agreed to end Reconstruction by removing federal troops and officials from the South. Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes. This concludes the assessment.